Hello. I am going to read you a story from Great Swedish Fairy Tales, illustrated by John Bauer. The illustrations in this book are very lovely. This story is The Seven Wishes by Alfred Smedberg. I'm showing you like it would work that way, but it's probably backwards for you. If you had ever seen Ollie Nicolason standing by his bundle of firewood in the forest, scratching his fiery, bristly head, you would probably have laughed until you ached. Ollie Nicolason looked so different from other boys. He had hair as brown as a juniper bush, burnt by the sun, a nose like a potato, and cheeks like two fat mushrooms. It wouldn't have been so bad if he had simply been ugly, but he was also so lazy he could scarcely bother to stand up again if he fell down, and so foolish he could not tell a squirrel from a crow. As he ambled about the forest with his mouth hanging open and his arms hanging down, he might have been taken for a monkey instead of a boy. He was so ugly and so foolish that even the magpies laughed. Just now, as we said, he was standing in the forest near his bundle of firewood, scratching his head. A 7-year-old child could easily have skipped with that little bunch of twigs, but Ollie, who was 13 years old and strong as a bear, had spent the last half hour wondering if he could lift it onto his back. He was standing, fidgeting and fussing, when he saw a viper lying on the ground nearby. The viper was sharply and intently eyeing something small, not far away. Ollie looked more closely and saw a little frog hopping in starts towards the viper's open mouth. If Ollie had not been so foolish, he would have realized that the snake, with its keen eyes, had cast a spell over the frog so that it would hop straight forward right into the viper's mouth. "Well, well," said Ollie, astonished and wide-eyed, but he was too lazy to pick up a stick and kill the viper. Meantime, the frog hopped closer and closer to the viper's poisonous tongue. Finally, stupid as he was, Ollie realized that the frog was terrified. It was trembling all over, and now and then it squeaked faintly. Ollie opened his silly eyes wider and stepped nearer. "Listen, you small, short, fat thing. Don't be so silly. Why don't you run away? Can't you see that the long black one wants to catch you?" It was the longest speech Ollie had ever made in all his life, and it was so hard for him to make that he took off his cap and mopped the sweat from his brow. But the frog kept hopping slowly nearer until finally it was just one hop away from the snake. The snake never moved its eyes from the frog. The poor little frog was shivering. Then Ollie lost his temper and picked up a stick and said, "You stupid little wretch, do I have to help you?" And with that, he poked the frog with the stick and knocked it aside into the grass where the snake could not see it. At once, the frog jumped up onto Ollie's bundle of firewood, where it sat watching him with beautiful, expressive eyes as if wishing to thank him. "Have I got to lift you too?" Ollie said crossly. "Don't you think the firewood is heavy enough already?" But the frog just sat there on the wood, gazing at Ollie. Its look was so bright, gentle, and friendly that Ollie was almost spellbound. Lazy and foolish, he stood there without even the sense to shoo the frog away. Meanwhile, the snake had wriggled off into the grass. Suddenly the frog laughed, a laugh as clear as silver. It jumped down from the firewood, and at that moment became a beautiful fairy girl with rosy cheeks, sky-blue eyes, and curly gold hair. Ollie was so astonished that all he could say was, "Oh." "Thank you, my friend, for saving my life," the fairy said in a voice as fine as a note from a harp. "Oh," said Ollie. "You probably don't realize what you have done for me," said the fairy. "I am not a frog, as you see. I am Queen of the Fairies. My crystal palace is over there in the small brook that flows through the meadow." "Oh," said Ollie, staring at the beautiful little elf. "You may be wondering," the fairy went on, "why I was a frog just a moment ago, so I will tell you straight away. Yesterday, around noon, I committed a great sin. I laughed at a little frog that was hopping towards a big snake, which had its mouth open. I did not realize that the snake had charmed the frog so that it couldn't escape, and I laughed at it for not jumping away. That was wicked of me, and so I was punished. I was turned into a frog myself for 24 hours. There were just 10 minutes left when the viper appeared and charmed me. 2. Put me under a spell. If you had not been there to save me, I would have been swallowed up and dead. Now, do you realize what a fine deed you have done? Oh ho, said Ollie, staring harder than ever. And now I want to reward you for your goodness, the fairy went on. I will give you 7 wishes, and whatever you wish for will be granted. Only be careful and don't wish foolishly, or you will regret it later. Goodbye. And with this the fairy floated away through the air toward the path that led to the brook. Oh ho ho, said Ollie, rubbing his elbow. That was fun. But now, what shall I wish for? Oh yes, I know. I wish the firewood would run home by itself and carry me on its back. He had hardly spoken before he was thrown on his stomach across the bundle of firewood. It raced through the forest and sent sticks and twigs, moss and pebbles, flying through the air. Ollie was terrified and had to dig his hands into the branches to hold on. The firewood went on like the wind, flying wildly between hillocks and groves. It galloped over stones and tree stumps. Ollie was tossed and jerked hither and thither. He lost his cap and his wooden shoes. His face was whipped by brushes and branches, and he himself was bellowing like a cow. In a few minutes, the firewood reached the small croft where Ollie lived. It tore through the gate and into the yard. At the threshold, it stopped so abruptly that Ollie fell headlong through the door and bumped his head so hard it gave him a sizable lump. Oh my, said Ollie, getting to his knees. His mother, who believed the pig had slipped into the croft, came rushing from the kitchen with her broom. Ollie could say nothing but, oh my, and oh, for he was so shaken that he quite forgot about the frog and the snake. The woman felt so sorry for him that she gave him a bag of almond candy. Now, whenever Ollie got hold of something good to eat, he could never stop it enough. So now he sat down on the step and gobbled up all the candy in a wink. Yum, he said, licking his lips. I wish I had a pail full of this candy and could eat as much as I wanted. In a moment, the whole pail full of candy was dumped in his lap. Oh my, Ollie exclaimed delightedly, and began to grab fistfuls of almond candy from the pail. He ate so much and so quickly it would have made you dizzy to watch him. He stared and chewed and swallowed, then ate some more. He hunched over the pail until, in 15 minutes, it was empty, and Ollie was as fat and round as a sausage. In a little while, Ollie was lying on the bed, wriggling like an earthworm, with his hands on his stomach and yelling louder than a pig stuck in a fence. His mother sent for the doctor, who advised a full bottle of stomach bitters. In an hour, Ollie had been so sick that he was as empty as a hunting dog. When he felt well enough to explain what had happened, the wise doctor gave him a sound thrashing with a hazel stick. A week later, Ollie's mother sent him out to weed their little carrot patch. Reluctantly, Ollie went out to do the job, but being lazy, before he began, he lay down beside the carrots to rest for a while. Now it just happened that there was also an enormous cherry tree in the garden, full of the biggest and reddest cherries, but they grew so high up that you could not reach them without climbing the tree. A more sensible boy would have found a ladder to lean against the tree, and that way could be right among the juicy cherries. But Ollie was both too silly and too lazy to think of that. So he lay under the tree and got angry with the crows and magpies that flew among the branches and picked one cherry after another. Oh, said Ollie, licking his thick lips, I wish I was sitting up there at the top of the tree. and just as if a strong wind had lifted him from the ground, in a moment he was flying up into the tree, and there he hung among the topmost branches. "Oh, oh!" Ollie shouted in delight, and began picking and eating. Now, if only he had not been too lazy to close the gate when he entered the garden, everything would have turned out all right. But with the gate open, the pig wandered in and began to scratch its back against the cherry tree. You could imagine what happened next. The tree swayed back and forth with Ollie at the top like a magpie on a birch twig in a storm. At last, he lost hold and fell down head over heels. Twigs and branches broke as he went, and Ollie somersaulted wildly onto the back of the pig. It is hard to say which of these two cried loudest, Ollie or the pig. Certainly, the pig never again dared scratch its back against a cherry tree with a boy in the branches. And for a week, Ollie went around with cuts on his hands, red scratches on his cheeks, and a swollen nose. You might suppose Ollie would never make a silly wish again, but, like other stupid boys, he didn't remember any of his troubles after they stopped hurting. So it was not more than a few weeks before Ollie had another adventure. On that day, he set out walking to the village. He seldom bothered to walk so far, and when he did, he dragged his feet all the way. He watched a bicyclist pedaling by the road. "Oh," said Ollie, "I wish I could sit on a bicycle like that and ride all over the countryside." The very next minute, he was astride a bicycle and spurting wildly forward. Where the bicycle had come from and how Ollie got on the seat, he did not know, but he sat there now, pedaling and speeding along for all his worth. Ollie had never ridden a bicycle before, and he began to shout and yell at the top of his lungs. Nor was the bicycle better behaved, so it raced along, frightening both cows and people. If only the bicycle had kept to the roads, things might have been easier, but the mischievous machine insisted on racing over the countryside, just as Ollie had wished, and so it seldom rode on smooth ground. Ollie tried to stop pedaling, but that was quite impossible. Whether he liked it or not, he pedaled and bumped and jumped along across hills and tufty meadows, through cornfields and potato fields, over fences, ditches, and stone walls. Everywhere, people ran from their homes to look at the madly careening cyclist. Ollie shouted and thumped and shouted, "Oh, oh, catch me! Stop me!" The villagers watched angrily as Ollie spoiled the crops and ran over their livestock. He rode pell-mell uncontrollably across corn sheaves and over flower beds, pushed piglets aside and scared horses so they bolted. Sheep jumped fences, and hens flew cackling onto the roofs of barns. By now, the villagers had come out in force with sticks and poles to stop Ollie. With the town elders in the lead, farmers and farmhands marched towards Ollie in a body. Ollie's bicycle lunged towards them like a furious bull, knocked off the sexton's hat, skinned the parish clerk's legs, and gave the richest farmer in the county such a solid poke in the stomach that he tumbled over with his heels in the air. Ollie was so frightened he nearly fainted. He simply could not understand what kind of monster he was riding. "I wish the wretched thing would break into 100 pieces," he said. Immediately, the bicycle rolled into a stone wall and was smashed to smithereens. Ollie himself somersaulted over the wall and landed in a clump of nettles. Immediately, the villagers rushed forward to beat Ollie for the damage he had done. Not only were fields and gardens ravaged, but he had run over and killed 3 pigs and 4 hens. But when the farmers saw him looking so frightened and exhausted, they lowered their sticks and left him in peace. "Poor lad," they said, "it's a pity. He's so stupid he doesn't know what he's doing. And small wonder, he never even learned how to read." Ollie limped home, aching all over. He began to think about what the villagers had said. "Is it because I cannot read that I am so stupid?" he wondered. It would be odd, but perhaps it is the reason why I am always getting into trouble. I wish I could read." Well, if that had been Ollie's first wish, he would have acted sensibly and avoided a lot of trouble. For the way the fairy's spell worked, if Ollie wished foolishly, he got his wish immediately. But when he wished sensibly, it came to him gradually. So he did not learn how to read wonderfully well all at once. But he did get such a burning desire for it that he studied both day and night. Eventually, Ollie could read any book he laid his hands on, and the more he read, the better he understood how foolish he had been and how lazy, idling away half his life. Now he helped his mother with all kinds of chores and began to be more diligent and industrious. One day, as he was walking in the forest, he saw the little fairy queen again. He recognized her immediately and suddenly remembered his adventure with the frog and the snake, for since he had learned to read and work, his memory had improved. "Good day, dear Ollie," said the fairy in a mild voice. "You wished foolishly 5 times, but your 6th wish was a wise one. Now you may have one more wish, but think carefully, for this is the very last one, and after that, I will not be able to help you again." Ollie pondered a very long time. Reading and working so much, he had become quite sensible, and that was the reason he was afraid to wish for something silly. He said at last, "I wish to be a good, useful person." "You couldn't have made a better wish," said the fairy happily, "and therefore I shall grant your wish, but it will come of your own efforts, for what comes other ways isn't worth much. Goodbye." The little fairy kept her word. Through study and hard work, Ollie became sensible, useful, and good, and everyone liked him. And as he became good, he also seemed more handsome, for only the lazy and the wicked appear ugly. I hope you liked my story. I was hearing it for the first time with you, and this will be my first book that I'm reading, or story that I'm reading on YouTube. Thank you for being patient as I made a lot of mistakes, calling Ollie Holly and things like that. But if you liked it, subscribe.